What I want to talk to you all today about, and again, if you're on Substack Live, feel free to, fire away with any of your thoughts, analysis, questions. Let's make this as interactive as we can. The Trey Hendrickson news out in Cincinnati is fascinating. And you are right, Tim Parker. He says, go back to releasing the schedule in mid-April via press release. Hashtag get off my lawn. I'm with you all the way. And also, Tim, down there in Charlotte, what in the hell is going on with our Hornets, man? We got screwed again in this lottery. What in the hell? I get it. Charlotte's a small market. Adam Silver doesn't care about them, but what an opportunity. They could have gone LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Cooper Flag. That would have been, a minimum 8 championships. It's quite a shame. But yes, back to the Bengals. And you don't see this often. And I've covered the NFL full time since 2011, and really since 2007 is when I interned out there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But as long as I've been in the NFL, when it comes to this time of year and voluntary practices and contract disputes and the nitty gritty and the business and all of those awkward, uncomfortable conversations that have to be had between management and players, and then the coaches, you kind of sprinkle them in. You don't hear about this stuff. It never really does see the light of day in terms of public statements. Usually a message is gently manipulated and massaged and kind of matriculated out to friendly people in the media. Hey, you are absolutely right, Tim Reuter. He says if the Pistons can turn it around, so can the Hornets. That's right. Ivan as well chiming in. The Hornets would need about 3 straight lottery wins just to make the playoffs. Easy, Ivan. Easy now. Yes, but very rarely do you see what you saw in Cincinnati. Our good friend Paul Dehner Jr. has some excellent coverage at The Athletic as well on this all. We've had him on the pod several times, so check out his analysis. He actually bumped into Trey Hendrickson as he was driving into practice. But usually if somebody wants money, if somebody wants a lot of money, you don't hear from them, let alone see them in the media, let alone see them at practice, at the facility, in a golf shirt, dying to talk. But Trey Hendrickson feels like he has no other choice but to somehow, some way, take control of the narrative with his bare hands and strangle that narrative as much as he can. There's 2 sides to this whole storyline, and we'll parse through it all. I'll get around to a take here because I mean, it's kind of complicated, but it isn't, I guess. So Trey Hendrickson is scheduled to make what, 16 million a year. He signed the contract. That's the arrangement between player and team. That's what he's making. And as far as the Bengals are concerned, look, you signed that deal. We want you to play on that deal. We pay Joe Burrow. We pay Jamar Chase. We pay T. Higgins. Sorry, you figured somebody would kind of get left out of that game of musical chairs, and it turned out to be Trey Hendrickson, who has 17 and a half sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. So that's kind of their vantage point, I suppose. But then, and part of you gets it too because he is going to be 31, and I want to get his actual birthday here, so bear with me. He's he's going to be on the wrong side of 30, and we've gotten into that whole debate with when those guys kind of fall off. The J.J. Watts of the world that have had some injuries. We've seen them go south soon. So, yeah, Trey Hendrickson is going to turn 31 years old on December 5th. So right when Cincinnati would theoretically be in a playoff push, a Super Bowl push, he turns 31. So you kind of wonder, all right, when do you start to kind of break down a little bit? And our pal Paul, he has kind of noted this himself, where Trey Hendrickson's numbers are a lot of those sacks maybe coming in not the primetime slots, not against the AFCs at least. You're nitpicking there for sure, and not necessarily the best run defender. So from Cincinnati's point of view, okay, you want to make Max Crosby money, you want to make Myles Garrett money. I just pulled it out now. Myles Garrett is making $40 million a year. This is all on SpotTrack.com. Danielle Hunter, 35.6 a year. Max Crosby, monster contract, 3 years, 106.5. That's 35.5 a year. Nick Bosa is making 34 a year. And there's Trey Hendrickson all the way down there at 16. But Cincinnati, you could make the case, a little hesitant for good reason. But then here's Trey Hendrickson. He hears the team president say some not savory things at the owners' meetings. I believe that was at the owners' meetings or maybe the combine. And then you get a text message from your head coach, Zach Taylor. Look, the context does matter here. Were they having a conversation? Was it going back and forth? And then Zach Taylor, the head coach, just mentions at one point, hey, look, if you don't go to minicamp, which is mandatory, we will fine you. If it's kind of like organically within the flow of a conversation, that's one thing. If he's just reaching out of the blue and says in so many words like, you better be at minicamp or we're going to fine you, then you can kind of see where the player has a right to be a little pissed off. So, here's Trey Hendrickson's quote. He obviously believes it is more so the latter. And when Trey Hendrickson talks, he tends to kind of meander a little bit. Got to find the right analogy here. I'm a Floridian, so there's unprovoked shark attacks and there's provoked shark attacks. And the comments that are being made with whatever happened at the combine, whatever happened at the owners' meetings, and the text I got yesterday, this is not something where I'm just twiddling my thumbs thinking, how can I get the next one up? Most of my teammates will agree I don't spare my opinions. I kind of stay out of the media for that reason because I am an emotional player. And after a loss, it's a lot harder to talk than after a win, especially in the circumstances we had last season. So I carry it with a tremendous amount of respect, but these things are provoked. I would love to say to sit quiet is a good strategy. It clearly is not. Trey Hendrickson went on to say that basically this has gotten personal, and he's not going to apologize for what these other pass rushers around the league are making. Garrett, Hunter, Crosby, making way more than him. And here's Hendrickson. He went through this last offseason and basically said, I'm going to ball out. I'm going to give you no choice but to pay me, put up great numbers again. And now he's the odd man out. He's not getting this contract. It's ugly. I mean, like I said, you don't see this in the NFL. You never see a star player who wants to get paid show up at something voluntary in his street clothes, gathering the media around saying, hey, everybody, I got something to say. So he's done that. He's gone on Pat McAfee. He hears something, he sees something, he gets pissed off, he wants to answer for it. So it's gotten ugly. I don't even think it's awkward and uncomfortable. At this point, it is personal. It is ugly. It's hard to see a clean solution where everybody kind of gets what they want. Like historically, the Cincinnati Bengals, they'll play this game of hardball. They'll do it. They don't care what anybody in the media is saying. They don't care about the noise. I mean, Mike Brown, the owner, certainly does not care. I would love to know how much attention he's even paying any of this. And the Bengals are probably sitting there thinking, oh, this is a really good point by Tim Reuter. He said, this is bad, but nothing beats T.O. doing sit-ups in his driveway and Drew Rosenhaus at the mouth. Yeah, I think we all remember where we were when T.O. was upset and he's doing the sit-ups in the drive. But you know what? It's really not that far off. It's kind of the modern-day version of that. If you watch that video of Hendrickson, man, he's pissed off and he wants to get paid. But in Cincinnati, like I said, they're unafraid to play this game. I think that they are going to stare right into the eyes of Trey Hendrickson and dare him to sit. Will Trey Hendrickson not play football this year out of principle and pass up on 16 mil? And look his teammates in the eyes. And look, by all accounts, he's a phenomenal teammate. Laid it on the line. He's their best defensive player last year. Where is the Cincinnati Bengals defense without Trey Hendrickson? Probably a lot of them in the UFL, I suppose. It was a bad defense, coordinated poorly. Young players not getting their shot, and we'll get around to that point. Is Trey Hendrickson really willing to look at his teammates and say, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to lay out on the line, but I need more money. Man, if it gets to that point, it's as we sit here in May, you can have these impromptu press conferences and use these shark analogies and talk about being disrespected and things getting personal. And he's We see this all the time out of the players. Sometimes they unfollow their team on Instagram, and sometimes they go on McAfee. Sometimes they work through national media surrogates, and sometimes they, not often, they do what Trey Hendrickson did this week and gather everybody around and kind of spill their guts, spill their emotions. He talks for like 25 minutes and all. Sometimes you get that. But is he really willing to say, I'm going to sit out an entire season or I'm going to miss games out of principle? Can't see that happening. I would be shocked if Trey Hendrickson took it to that extreme. And if you read body language and you listen to what he said or read what he said when he's asked that question point blank, he's not even going to go there at this point. So the Bengals could do that. They could make him an offer that is lower than Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, that upper tier. And maybe Trey Hendrickson says, look, this is still a lot of money. I'm going to be 31. Let's take care of my family. Let's sign it. Let's move on. Let's go win a damn Super Bowl. Maybe that's an option as well, although it sure doesn't sound like there's much communication right now between the Cincinnati Bengals and his camp. Remember, this time last year, Jamar Chase went through the same thing. They weren't even talking to him. Like, there was not much communication at all. So that is an option. Or he could sit out. What happens here? What happens? Okay. Well, I think the best case scenario, and we talked about this with Paul back at the first week of free agency on the Go Long Pod. In retrospect, and Paul nailed it in the moment too. The best case scenario would have been just trade Trey Hendrickson then, and there were teams that probably would have given you some premium draft capital for him. I know right here in Buffalo, look what Brandon Beane did. I mean, the Bills are going out. I don't know how interested they were in Trey Hendrickson. I'm not privy to any of that. But they did go out and sign Joey Bosa, Larry Ogunjobi, Michael Hoyt, drafted TJ Sanders, drafted Deion Walker. They got a lot of bodies. They got a lot of dudes. And this is a team trying to go win a Super Bowl. I have to think the Bills or another team in contention. Now, are the Bengals going to trade Trey Hendrickson to the Bills? Obviously, it's hard to imagine that, and it would have been a major PR hit. But look, if you're going to nitpick and you've got these reservations and you don't think he's going to be the same player at 31, 32, 33, 34, then have some balls and just do it. Like, have some conviction. It's kind of why we love the Brandon Beane Chiefs trade in the draft. Like, look, maybe Xavier Worthy haunts you for a decade, but you got to have some conviction. You got to have some belief. They didn't believe in him. They believed in on the other receivers. They wanted to trade out and do what's best for the Bengals. What's best for the Bengals could have been trade Trey Hendrickson. There you go. Tim Reuter. The Lions needed a pass rusher. Yeah, man, I'm sure somebody in the NFC could have used a pass rusher. And you get a pick. Maybe it's a first. Maybe it's a second. You've got that $16 million freed up. You can go shopping. You go young. You lean in to this youth movement. Remember, Lou Anarumo, defensive coordinator, did not like to play young players. You bring in Al Golden from Notre Dame. His defense forced the most turnovers in the nation. Big on just fundamentals, tackling. They're going to be playing youth. Shamar Stewart, we got into him a couple weeks ago on Substack Live. Like, they're going to be leaning into some of these young guys. Like Burrow, Chase, Higgins. I mean, your core is still pretty young. So you kind of have this soft rebuild, reload, youth movement on defense in conjunction with paying those guys on offense. You can sell that. That's somewhat of a direction. Or, so they chose not to. Who knows what the trade market for Trey Hendrickson really is? Or just pay him, right? Just pay him. Just pay him. There's worse things to do in the NFL than pay Trey Hendrickson, right? You know he's going to work. This is somebody who has maximized every ounce of his athletic and physical ability to the extreme. He did have a bunch of sacks the last 2 years. Your defense was hot garbage last year, and he was the lone bright spot. Are you really going to regret paying him in the mid-30s per year? If he falls off, there's always a risk a guy could fall off the cliff, but I don't think it's just going to be a precipitous drop for Trey Hendrickson personally. I think he still has got the motor, that relentless pass rush. Worst case scenario, you're overpaying somebody at a premium position who's still going to get you some pressure. Best case scenario, this is a player who can play into his mid 30s. Remember, we broke down Julius Pepper's career, and he found a way to be unbelievably effective at 34, 35, 36. I mean, who knows? Maybe Trey Hendrickson has 4 or 5 elite years left in him. That's very much a possibility. At this point, though, I don't think you can live in the middle if you're Cincinnati. I don't think you can sell that to your locker room. Maybe the Trey Hendrickson situation is unique enough, different enough from Chase and Higgins and Burrow and everybody on offense. The players and teammates can kind of say, "Oh, that thing's really weird," so that doesn't bother me that much. Or maybe they're like, "All right, this guy's busting his ass. He's the best player on defense. He does everything that Garrett and Crosby and Hunter and Bosa and all these guys, Nick Bosa, all these guys are doing, and you're not paying him." That can be a not good message to spread in a locker room. It's gotten so ugly. Uh, I feel like Cincinnati, to use a Rex Ryan term that lives for the ages, I don't think Cincinnati can be half pregnant here. You can't. I don't know. Like maybe you play chicken and you dare Trey Hendrickson to sit out and he plays and his hair's on fire and he's playing to just basically say screw you, I am the best pass rusher in the NFL. But all you're kind of doing is continuing to piss off one of your best players. They've got the cap space to do this, by the way. I think it's what, like, is it 67 mil in cap space they should have next year? Like, and Joe Burrow made the point. You can always convert money to bonuses. You can always push those checks. Like money, yeah, they're paying all these guys money is a problem, but it's really not. If when you really look at it, they can't pay him. Okay, we have a comment here. Sorry, Ivan, I'm getting to you just now. He says, "Are you comparing his impact on the team over Chase?" No, I am not. Burrow needs his receivers. The defense doesn't need to be packed with superstars. Most winners don't have a 5 deep superstar lineup. You're right. No, I'm not saying that Trey Hendrickson is on the level of Jamar Chase. Your Cincinnati, your identity is clear. You're trying to score 40 points a game. You're just trying to outgun people week in and week out. Similar to last year, it's just now everybody's really expensive. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think that you can have that identity while still charting a direction on defense. And I like the youth movement. We sat down with that group at the owners' meetings with Zach Taylor for an hour, and the way he's kind of taking you position by position and how they're going to focus on tackling this offseason. Players are going to play more in the preseason. They're going to do some different types of tackling drills, different types of emphasis with elbow, and they're going to be unafraid to play some of these young guys. They didn't have a lot of draft picks, but they sure went heavy on defense with those picks. They tried to spend smartly where they could. TJ Slayton, Oren Burks. I mean, they weren't necessarily breaking the bank in free agency. I think that when it comes to Trey Hendrickson, though, your best player on defense, you got to go hard one way or the other. You either got to trade him, go youth movement, move on, get what you could have gotten then, or at this point, I think you just pay him. Yeah, I think even if it's a player-friendly deal, granted, I'm admittedly biased toward the players always with what we say, what we write. These are the guys risking their bodies and their brains on a game-to-game basis, and uh, when somebody lays it on the line like Trey Hendrickson does, you can get why he's losing his mind right now. He's looking around at the market and he's thinking, what else can I do here? And am I running out of time? Because next year, you are a year older. Maybe more teams are thinking the way Cincinnati's thinking right now, and they don't want to pay you. And maybe you put up another 17 and a half sacks too. And it doesn't matter because teams are going to hold your age against you. Hell, they can tag them next year if you really wanted to piss them off, I guess. It's bad. It's ugly. I don't know how it ends. I just, it's an unforced error. Like this was all avoidable for the Bengals. This should be a celebratory offseason for them. Think of all the bad vibes they've had going into these seasons. Joe Burrow has been, hurt basically. It seems like into every year he's recovering from ACLs. He had the appendectomy. He had the torn wrist. I mean, I think the rehab was a lot more strenuous than anybody even realizes. He's finally healthy, coming off of his best statistical season. You get Jamar Chase done. You get T. Higgins done. Hell, you get Mike Gesicki done. You've got some promising pieces on the offensive line. It at least should be better than what it's been in the past. Chase Brown emerging at running back, and now you've got to deal with this kind of drama. There was a point at the owners' meeting, I can't remember how exactly I phrased the question to Zach Taylor, but down the lines of, man, it's got to be nice to like not have distractions and drama and just have a lot of this stuff taken care of in a training camp. And he did. He kind of hesitated, and in so many words, say, "Well, you never know what's going to pop up. You never know what's going to happen." And here we are. It's happening. Would love to know what that text exchange was really like between the head coach and the player. Does all of this affect the Bengals' thinking? I don't think so. And we're going to get to mandatory practices when he can be fined. Apparently, he will be fined. The Bengals could say, "We're not going to fine you. We know we want to work out this contract, and you don't have to come. We're not going to fine you. Let's just iron it out." But I guess he's going to get fined. So this thing, all the signs point to it's getting a lot uglier than it already is. So the take here, just pay the man. Just pay him. Just pay him. If you regret it down the line, I don't think it's a massive regret. And the payoff is huge. You're in the AFC. This is the murderer's row of quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Go right down the list. They're everywhere. Maybe CJ Stroud bounces back in year 3. You are a team that can realistically compete for a Super Bowl now. You don't know how many of these opportunities you're going to get. Trey Hendrickson is a damn good pass rusher. Now it's a premium position. You've got the money to make it happen. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. Much like Chase, much like Higgins, should have handled this better. And let this be a lesson, right, for the Bengals, where if you've got some emerging players that you've drafted, some homegrown guys, get the deal done early. Don't let the problem metastasize. Don't let the market explode. Get it done early and move on. And granted, Hendrickson did sign a deal with the Bengals. But yeah, some of these positions, the market is going to explode. They could have gotten this done last year. It's all about staying one step ahead at the positions where you do need to stay one step ahead. So pay him, you're Super Bowl contender, and have some fun, Cincinnati. But I don't know if they will. If they will. All right. Any more thoughts here before we sign off? Also, a couple more notes. Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking out some of these. Yeah. 30s? You think he's worth 20 mil more per season? This is Ivan than he is now. Contract is a contract. Bet you DeMarcus Cousins wishes he had 16 mil now. Well, yeah. I just think you pay him. Just do it. Just get it done. All right, tonight on the Go Long Pod, not on Substack Live, but we will have the podcast episode at golongtd.com. Also transcribed. I'm going to talk with Joe Theismann, the Washington Redskins legend. We will reminisce on his playing days and talk about the Commanders of today. Should be interesting. Always love catching up with Joe. Yeah, he's an open book. Former MVP, too. He's got some good memories to share. I know we've got some older fans that probably remember watching him, so that will be fun. Our 3-part series on Julian Hill is live at the site. It was eye-opening, to say the least, to spend a day with the Miami Dolphins tight end. Holy hell, what this guy has been through blew my mind. Actually, my first job as a sports writer out of college at Syracuse was at the Fayetteville Observer in North Carolina, where he grew up. And actually, when I took that job at the Observer, it was 2010. That was right when his life started turning around at 9, 10 years old. So he grew up homeless, trailer to trailer, sleeping with literal cockroaches and rats. One of his trailers just shot up 9 times one night. God, he tells a story of somebody just going up to the family minivan, just bashing all the windows in with a bat. And the worst of the worst of the worst was what he witnessed inside the home. His mother, the domestic violence, boyfriends, housemates, quote unquote, every day punching, beating, kicking. It's really kind of, it was hard to listen to. I'm sure it'll be hard to read in spots, but this was real. This is what he dealt with, and to emerge from that place in Fayetteville to get to where he is now it's kind of a miracle, really. So that's why he's out to save lives. And we spent half of the day at his house, children's home in Miami, just a few miles from the Dolphins facility. And stories there are harrowing as well. Oh my God! I mean, I thought I knew a little bit about human trafficking, child trafficking. I didn't have a clue. They see it every day, and they're trying to save as many kids as they can there. So I think Julian Hill just felt this natural gravitational pull to go to his house and help to get back any way he possibly could. So to really do this justice, we wanted to flesh it out into 3 parts. All 3 parts are now posted live at the site. I hope you have a chance to read that. Let me know what you think. And we've got more in store for you throughout the off season. Many features, many deep dives that we're chipping away at. Unfortunately, no schedule release talk. We'll leave that to everybody else. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone.